Hello friends, Kuyan here. Today, we are back. We are so back. Your boy is back. No, not me, Nick Crowley. We're going to react the darkest moments in TV history part 7. Yes, it's gonna be very exciting. I actually have one commenter that comment on my previous video that he asked me about like when I will try to react this video, and I'm trying to react it right now. This would be very, very exciting because I never expect someone to comment and ask me to react this video right now. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started.
Under the water there are traps, old cars,
Flash warning, flash images. Oh, the following video contains scenes upsetting. Oh, I'm so slow. Damn it.
On the 29th of June 2025, a group of teenagers ventured into the Miriam River in Bacabal, Brazil, for a quick morning swim. But after several minutes in the water, the group started to realize that one of its members, 13-year-old Raisa, was no longer beside them. And after calling out her name and searching the surrounding area, the realization set in. Raisa had disappeared. It was now likely somewhere in that murky water around them. The news sent shockwaves throughout the community, and straight away locals filled the area to help find this girl. But their attempts were all futile. And with each passing moment, it grew more and more likely that Raisa had tragically drowned, with the search efforts shifting to recovery efforts the next morning. The tragedy led to various news stations arriving on the scene to help document the search, and for one reporter, Lenildo Frazao, he couldn't help but view Raisa's story as a cautionary tale. The Miriam River is particularly unassuming from the surface, which is exactly what made it so dangerous, since it carried with it an unexpectedly strong current and a bottom that was littered with sudden drop-offs, as even in shallow sections, one step could plunge you into deep water without warning. As a result, tragedies like this had sadly happened here before, and for Lenildo, this was the perfect time to highlight the river's dangers, in the hope of preventing one from ever happening again, and he had a unique idea to help achieve this. Rather than just explaining how dangerous the river was, Lenildo wanted—
No way, bro. Going to really test it out? So it does makes you wonder though. How will you ever like get out from that? Just in case if he drowned in this case, which I hope he wouldn't. Who's gonna save him with this? Because I think if he tried to save us from this time, I'm pretty sure the cameraman, like let's say the cameraman trying to save him, pretty sure both of them might drown in this case. Or thirdly, I'm pretty sure if he does test this in the water, he might be able to, recover the body of the girl. Those are two of my predictions. Let's see.
To demonstrate it. And so he began to take off his shoes and his pants before entering the water, with his microphone in his hand.
Pois justamente aqui, pessoal, nós vamos entrar agora na água aqui para mostrar para vocês o local. Olha, a gente já vê que aqui a água é muito forte, ó. E vai descendo, ó. Vixe Maria, vai descendo aqui, viu?
Okay.
The camera rolled as he waded into the river, at first going just to the depths of his knees, before the riverbed began to drop beneath him, sending the water all the way up to his chest.
Okay.
Então, pessoal, e aí tá tem a correnteza. Aqui já, olha, ó, passinho para frente, a água já tá praticamente.
And all while this happened, he spoke to the viewers at home about how unsafe this area could be, especially for unattended children who weren't strong swimmers. But even with most of his body now submerged, he wanted to take it even further in order to prove—
I kind of noticed him that he's slightly going towards the left in this case. He's slowly like moving towards the left.
Point. And so he continued wading towards the center of the river.
Oh, don't do that, man.
Right in the direction of the noticeably fast-moving current. Until suddenly—
Olha, dei pouquinho aqui, ó. A água já tá acima do meu peito.
Careful.
Você vê a situação. Se eu andar pouquinho aqui, deixa eu ver aqui. Ó, vou andar mais. Ó a fundura aqui, ó.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, shit.
Lenildo physically recoiled and let out a loud yell. He stood there for a moment, anxiously glaring into the water, before telling his crew, "I think there's something down here underwater." Whatever he had touched in those murky depths didn't seem natural, with Lenildo describing it as being soft. And quickly, he made his way back to the shore, where he further explained why he was so shaken by the ordeal, admitting that what he stepped on felt like an arm.
What?
This is the exact moment that many believe Raisa was found, as just moments later, several locals would retrace Lenildo's steps and discover the 13-year-old's body in the same exact location.
What?
Raisa had died from an accidental drowning, as she wasn't a strong swimmer. and had likely fallen into the deep water where she was held down by the current. The exact conditions that Lenildo had been warning the viewers about when he unknowingly stepped on her corpse.
Damn. His instincts was probably like alerting him, like, oh, you should go there. Here, you know, there's something in this water. In this case, that his instincts might be kicking in. Like he feels something that is something within this water, and that's why he tried to test this water. It's kind of interesting that he even like have that intuition, I guess, to even feel that there's a body there. But it's actually true, friends. Like I actually like learn lately that our intuition is actually pretty strong, but you can't feel it right away. But you know there's something that is wrong, or there's something that you feel that there's something about it, but you don't know what it is. You know what I mean? And then you kind of the more and more time you go to do something, and that intuition will automatically like say that, you know, the situation, like in this case, like he probably like have an intuition that there's something within this river. That's why he tried to test it out, and then later discovered a body. You know, it's actually a real thing. It's actually kind of creepy. But usually our intuition is usually made because it is a way for, I guess, like all knowledge within the universe. I think this is what I've learned, that it's already like within our body in this case. So that's why we kind of like, and our intuition is the way to like, guess, signal to us that there's something that it knows that we don't know consciously. So it's a pretty interesting psychological like stuff that I've been learning lately. So yeah, pretty interesting. Like, have you ever like have any type of intuition in your moments? You know, I would love to learn on the comments below.
With the entire ordeal culminating into what can only be described as one of the darkest moments in television history.
How far and what lengths have you gone to find these plants? Seems alright, but I'm not a doctor.
Individually, they're just like you and me. But together, they are a source of endless fascination.
And we'll conduct a rigorous scientific experiment into twin telepathy.
Take care out on the street. Use your head and then your feet.
It was a peculiar sight. As traffic flowed through one of the UK's busiest roadways, the M6, CCTV cameras captured two women walking down the narrow median, with a vehicle speeding past them on either side. These women were Sabina and Ursula Eriksson, 40-year-old identical twin sisters who grew up in Sweden, with Ursula eventually moving to the US and Sabina to Ireland. Just one day before this footage was taken, on May 16, 2008, Ursula had made the long flight to visit Sabina at her home in Dublin. But things got off to a troubling start when Sabina got into a verbal altercation with her husband and the father of her two kids, prompting both sisters to leave the house in the middle of the night without telling anyone. The next morning, the sisters emerged in the city of Liverpool, where they visited a police station and reported that Sabina's kids were in danger and were unsafe in her husband's care. Law enforcement briefly looked into the matter, but ultimately they didn't seem all too concerned with the children's well-being, and rather they seemed more troubled by the women themselves. Their behavior was just somewhat off, so much so that shortly after leaving the station, they were kicked off a public bus for exhibiting erratic behavior, which some passengers found threatening. And after the altercation, this erratic behavior continued, as for unknown reasons, the pair began walking towards the M6, and then eventually right onto it, where we see them now. It defied any sort of logic, and put them in an extremely dangerous position, a position where one wrong move could lead to a horrific accident. And sure enough, that's exactly what would happen, though it was anything but accidental. Without warning, both women turned and then ran directly into the road, and for Sabina, directly into a car traveling in the fast lane. Immediately, local police were inundated with urgent calls about the ordeal, leading to a group.
Wait. Is this some kind of weird plan? Some sort? Like, they are twins. I'm pretty sure this is kind of an insurance scam or some sort. I don't know. It's very extremely odd. Guess this is some kind of weird suicidal stuff? This is weird. This is so weird. That is so weird.
Group of officers being dispatched to the scene, And coincidentally, the same group just so happened to have a camera crew following them as part of the show Motorway Cops. The show follows traffic officers as they handle their many daily encounters, ranging from mundane traffic infractions all the way to devastating tragedies. And this segment seemed destined for the latter.
Lane 3 is obviously the fastest lane in the motorway. Anyone being hit, you're expecting serious injury, if not life-threatening.
Despite the officers fearing the worst, however, when they arrived on the scene, they were met with a surprising sight.
So friends, I tried to like input my headphones in the video right now, so yeah, let's see. Continue now. I forgot to input my headphones up. I do apologize to that.
Officers fearing the worst, however, when they arrived on the scene, they were met with a surprising sight. Standing there before them was Ursula and Sabina, who despite being struck by a car at high speeds, appeared completely unharmed. In fact, both sisters were entirely calm, as they were shown casually speaking amongst themselves as if nothing ever happened. It was a miracle. And as the officers began trying to piece together the cause of this whole ordeal, everyone at the scene began to breathe a collective sigh of relief. There was no way that any of them could have known that their roles had just been cast in one of the most disturbing television scenes.
Oh my god. They're gonna run through the traffic again, fortunately. But why though? What are their motive?
Right. What we've got is they were in the central res.
I guess that's my intuition saying.
As we approached, they hadn't seen us, man. The red ones got knocked down by the red car over there. I've got an ambulance en route for her. She seems all right, but I'm not a doctor. She has been knocked down.
Is she the one that speaks English or the other one?
Yes.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Without a single word being spoken, Ursula dashed into the middle of oncoming traffic and directly into the path of a massive truck traveling at over 60 miles per hour.
What?
It happened in a literal instant. There was hardly any chance to react, and before anyone could even begin to process what they had just witnessed, Sabina would also run into the road, not after her sister, but rather straight into the path of an oncoming Volkswagen.
Oh no! Mike Alpha, we need ambulance. Senior officers to the scene. We've got 2 possible fatals.
What?
Within just seconds, this completely calm scene had turned to utter chaos, and both women were now lying on the pavement. Miraculously, they both were still alive. Sabina was stable but knocked unconscious, while Ursula was in rough shape. Her legs had been pulverized by the truck, with paramedics describing them as looking as if they had exploded. And while she lay there on the pavement, she was wide awake and experiencing everything.
Oh no, this is dangerous. I think their brain is usually been broken. If you don't know, friends, it's actually pretty fatal for your head to get hit, and you think that you're fine, you're even like conscious at that time. But because your brain is internally injured, you're internally bleeding your brain, which means your brain can swell a lot. And if your brain is swollen in an in-case skull, that is fatal. That will actually like collapse your spinal cord, so that is dangerous. That's why I always wear a helmet. This is why I always like try to always advise for everyone to like drive motorcycles or bike, always have a helmet, because your brain is actually easy to injure internally. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they are like conscious right now, but I'm pretty sure they're damaged internally from their brain. That's my suspicion, but we'll see.
Within seconds of receiving medical attention, Ursula began to cry out. But strangely, it wasn't in pain. Rather, she was yelling at the paramedics, cursing and even attacking them for trying to help her.
What?
Calm down. Calm down. Mine's very aggressive, spitting at me.
Shouting things like, "I recognize you. I know you're not real."
Come on, you've hit your head. Calm down. We are the police.
Do they have like some kind of schizophrenia, I think, in this case?
We are the police.
It was clear that she was suffering from some sort of delusion, but while officers had their hands full trying to subdue her, things were about to get even more hectic as Sabina started to regain consciousness.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
She had been brutally struck by a car, as evidenced by the damage to the vehicle itself. But like Ursula, she also appeared almost entirely unfazed as she stood up and began to scream to her sister, "They're going to steal your organs." One of the officers tried to hold her back, but Sabina resisted.
Oh, careful, careful. Careful. Oh, what?
Eventually shoving the woman to the ground, before once again taking off into oncoming traffic.
No! Stay! stay there. Calm down, calm down, calm down.
Thankfully, this time the car
Ooh. Like, this is like the 3rd time they attempted, offing themselves. But yeah, it's getting crazy. This is actually attention making. Oh my god. Oh my
cars
god.
managed to avoid her, but it would take 6 officers to finally restrain her. And even with that many people, it was still a struggle, as her strength was unlike anything that they had seen in a woman her size. And with Sabina now subdued, the chaos was finally over.
Okay.
In the following moments, Ursula was airlifted to a local hospital where she underwent an extensive, yet successful emergency surgery, while Sabina was shockingly found to have no injuries, which allowed her to be discharged into police custody after just 5 hours, where she was promptly arrested and sentenced to 1 day in prison for assaulting an officer, as well as trespassing on the motorway. And with both women now safe, one question burned at the forefront of everyone's minds. Why had the Erickson twins done this?
And also, how did they survive? Like, oh my god, God was probably present at that time.
Well, the immediate theory was that this was all the result of drug use. But surprisingly, when given toxicology tests, no drugs or alcohol would be found in either of their systems. They were entirely sober during this ordeal.
So this has to be some kind of mental illness somehow, right?
Which left only one plausible theory, that this was all the result of some sort of mental breakdown, with both women somehow experiencing its effects at the same time. Today, this case is used as one of the most glaring examples of a psychological disorder known as folie à deux, in which one
Folie à deux. Folie à deux. Delusion or mental illness shared by 2 people in close association. So this is folie à deux. I actually heard about the Joker movie about folie à deux. It's like, I don't know what that means. Like, oh, it's a delusion between 2 people. Interesting. Why? I'm pretty sure this is some kind of a cultish too, like a cultish effect. If you don't know, for instance, like if you have some kind of depression stuff, I guess in this case, you're more likely to associate with another person that will try to help you in this case, and you try to connect with each other because of, your shared tragedy, I guess, in your life. And I guess this is also what happened to this. I think one of them is delusional enough and they both agreed and convinced each other to, I guess, off themselves. Maybe?
Person suffering from delusions transmits said delusions onto a different person, leading to both people experiencing the same misconstrued version of reality. And while this is only a theory, it's clear that regardless of the how or why, these women were extremely mentally unwell during this event.
Yeah, and pretty durable, I think. Durable is a word? Because they survived 3 potential, offing themselves.
In fact, during the TV program, an officer even mentioned that this could be a 136.
Yeah. Is she under arrest at the moment?
Well, 136 if she is.
Which is a code that allows law enforcement to hold people on account of their mental health to assure that they're safe to return to the public. But shockingly, not only did this never happen, but Sabina was released without ever being given a mental health assessment.
What?
In fact, she was never so much as looked over by a mental health professional, and was instead released the very next day after the incident.
What? What's wrong with the UK law system? Because this was kind of crazy and kind of creepy.
On top of this, when she was released, she was given no information about Ursula's whereabouts or her condition, or even resources to help find her way home, leaving Sabina still mentally unwell and now stranded in an unfamiliar city, not knowing what happened to her sister. And sadly, her delusions were far from over.
Damn.
As she left the police station on the 19th of May, Sabina had nowhere to go, and so she began to wander, carrying her belongings in the same evidence bag that the police had given her earlier that day. Eventually, she would happen across 2 men walking their dogs, and as she stopped to pet them, Sabina asked the owners where the nearest hotel was. But seemingly recognizing that the woman wasn't well, one of the men, Glenn Hollenshed, offered to have her stay at his place, to which Sabina happily obliged. But once inside Hollenshed's home, Sabina began acting extremely paranoid, checking the windows constantly and believing that her cigarettes had been poisoned. Despite this though, Hollenshed was patient, and he helped her make calls around the area to track down Ursula, while making sure that Sabina was eating and drinking. The following day, Hollenshed was preparing dinner for Sabina when he stepped out of the house to ask his neighbor for tea. But just minutes after returning home with the bags, he would once again step out of the house, only this time, he was completely covered in blood, as he stumbled and screamed, "She stabbed me." As he collapsed to the ground, the neighbor rushed over to try and help, but the damage was already done. Holinshed would let out one final soft whisper.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so sad. He was just trying to help her. God damn, what's happening to this woman? These twins are crazy.
Saying, "Look after my dog for me," before breathing his final breath.
So sad.
For unknown reasons, in that house, Sabina had stabbed Glenn Holinshed, and by the time law enforcement arrived, she was long gone, having fled the house with a hammer in her hand, which she used to strike her head repeatedly as she mumbled incoherently and walked down the sidewalk. Eventually, a man passing by tried to intervene, but Sabina immediately attacked, brandishing a roof tile that she had hidden in her pocket and using it to strike him on the head.
What? That's insane. They are so insane. They're also she's also very methodical. Like she knows that they are going to, attempt to help her in this case. So she's taking advantage by already having some kind of weapon inside of her. Crazy. This is crazy. Also, this is also a failure from the police because goddamn, could have just have a mental evaluation for this, and both of these men shouldn't be harmed or killed otherwise. This is such a fucking failure of the police system, man.
Nearly
in UK,
knocking him unconscious. It would take several minutes for police to finally catch up with her, but just like the day prior, she took off, leading to a chase that ended with Sabina being surrounded on a 40-foot tall bridge that passed over a highway, and recognizing that there was nowhere left for her to go, she jumped.
This is a crazy...
Somehow, Sabina would cheat death once again, and despite...
Oh my god. How many times? How many times did she always... I can't believe like she's even still alive. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Despite suffering 2 broken ankles and a skull fracture, she was alive. And after a lengthy recovery, she was put on trial for the murder of Glenn Holinshed, where she would never give a single comment as to why she did what she did, leaving her motive a total mystery to this day. Though it seems clear that it was at least partially a result of her delusions, with the defense pointing to folie à deux as a potential explanation. And in the end, it was deemed that Sabina was not mentally fit to make decisions at the time of the slaying, and ultimately, she was given a prison sentence of just 5 years.
But how about the twin though? What happened to the twin? The good thing is like she's been in prison 5 years. Come on, man. At least 10. At least 10. She attacked one of the officers. She killed the person. At least 10 years. Always times 2, if you think that there's 5 years, always times 2 that. Because sometimes some criminals, man, they just give like small misdemeanor, which is so awful, man.
This is truly one of the most disturbing TV cases of all time. And for as shocking as it is on its own, what I find most chilling is the fact that these officers mentioned holding her for a psychiatric evaluation, which ultimately never happened.
Yeah.
Well, 136 if she is.
It was a massive oversight. In fact, it was so glaring that the police department allegedly contacted the show and asked them to remove this entire section.
What? What is this? What the fuck is in the UK, man? This is a weird type of censorship. I also heard like a lot of like in the UK, they also like censor a lot of their videos and stuff. Like there's even like I heard a guy that has been in prison just because he say that he just like disagree in the internet. Just say like I think he just like disagree about something and just say a slur. That's it. Got imprisoned because he say something that is a slur. Crazy.
As if they had just followed through with that code 136, Sabina would have been held for longer than just one night, which meant that she not only may have been given the help she needed, but she also never would have had the chance to meet Glenn Holinshed that fateful day.
Damn.
Since her release from prison in 2011, Sabina promptly disappeared from the public eye, and neither she nor Ursula has ever been heard from again, meaning we have no idea whatever happened to the Erickson twins.
Damn. That is...
They just simply
So it seems like, I guess, murder at large, in this case. Very creepy, man, when still those crazy people. But it's still interesting though, because they try to attempt, offing themselves, but now it's kind of weird, like they're trying to like survive, I guess, in this case. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
tend to be making the same decisions at the same times. They're thinking in the same way.
Pretty tragic too. Rest in peace for that man just trying to help her, man. It's actually pretty sweet to even like try to help like a mentally deranged, person, and even care for his dog, I guess. Kind of sad. Kind of sad, man. Rest in peace to that person. I think his name is Erickson. Rest in peace, man. Oh.
It's December 2021. A couple receives a warm welcome as they walk onto the stage, ready to—
Wait, did I see the title? I might miss the title. I rewind a little bit just in case if I miss the title.
Simply tend to be making the same decisions at the same times. They're thinking in the same way.
No? No title? I guess. Sorry, I have to rewind a little bit. I thought I missed something.
It's December 2021. A couple receives a warm welcome as they walk onto the stage, ready to compete in the Croatian television show Super Talent, the country's
Croatia
version of America's Got Talent. But it's clear this excitement from the crowd wasn't shared by the show's host, who turned to someone standing behind the camera and flashed the unmistakable look of concern.
What?
In the minutes prior, the audience at home was introduced to the pair, 34-year-old singer Roman Bernata and his wife, 44-year-old violinist Bianca Kolompar, along with their child, who would be watching on as the two shared their musical talents with the world.
Okay.
In their day-to-day lives, Roman was a professional goalkeeper for a local soccer team, while Bianca was a professional violinist with a doctorate in music. And while on paper this all seems fairly normal, it was immediately clear to those watching that this couple was anything but. The two frequently went on long-winded and bizarre rants, with Bianca opening up about her breast enlargement surgery.
Ja sam imala kao cura velike grudi, velika mi je bila želja da to vratim, operirala sam.
And the two discussing at length their belief in a living God who walked the earth.
Ali ja osjetim, stvarno imam taj kontakt sa živim.
Yeah, sometimes it's so crazy that people like try to believe this weird delusional culty, like, outside being, I guess. I don't like that type of belief. I know it's kind of depressing, but I do believe in Jesus Christ. That's it. He's kind of a very interesting person, but goddamn, some people, like these people, they're kind of very felt culty in this case. And culty as in manipulative in a way that sounds a bit too crazy than the real religion. You know what I mean? God is a person and energy at the same time.
It was their performance itself that proved to be the strangest part of their time on the show.
Okay.
Vi se mene ne sjećate, jel da?
Ja?
Ne. Prije puno godina.
Aha, ja se nas sjećam kad sam snimala
škola, jel ide Harbe, ide?
Hard work is working. I apologize, this really did ask you.
Roman's introduction was fairly uncomfortable, as he made mention of a time that he had met one of the judges years before, who clearly had no recollection of the encounter, which seemed to frustrate him, as his demeanor quickly became hostile.
What is your talent? What do you... I don't have any talent? Work? Super talent, my friend. I love it, don't worry. Take it easy.
Leading to Roman receiving his first X before he even sang a single note.
Whoa. We also have this type of like show in here in the Philippines. It's called Filipinas Got Talent. So I guess in here in Croatia they call it Super Talent.
It was a rough start for the couple, and by the time they did get to perform, things only got worse.
And now the end is near, and so I face.
It's actually a good voice. And I guess they're singing Frank Sinatra in this case. I love Frank Sinatra, by the way. Even as a Gen Z Filipino, I love Frank Sinatra's music. I also love like some remix of it, like it's called Electro Swing. I love those like interesting remix. It's a very good shout out from him. He's actually a pretty awesome singer too, Frank Sinatra. I do it my way.
Admittedly, the couple didn't sound awful, but it was clear the judges were frustrated by Roman's demeanor, prompting all 4 of them to hit their X, signaling the end of the couple's performance.
That's unfortunate.
Or at least they thought.
I've laughed and cried.
As the two just kept on performing, playing over the sounds of the judges shouting their name and the deafening silence from the crowd. With the two going until a producer finally had to step in from behind the camera and officially cut them off. But even then, the couple continued their antics, this time by protesting the judge's decision, with Bianca even threatening to go to the newspaper and expose their behavior to the press, all while Roman stood angrily to the side, glaring at the panel before him. And with that, Roman and Bianca's time on Super Talent was over, and they not only walked away without receiving the grand prize, but they also left with shattered reputations, as this segment became notorious among fans of Super Talent, with the couple being considered one of the most unusual acts to ever feature on the show. But despite its virality, this performance isn't what Roman is most widely remembered for today.
Uh-oh.
On February 6th, 2022, residents in Rijeka, Croatia were met with the sight of a fully nude man wandering the city streets. It was Roman Bernada, and while most stared on in amusement, laughing to themselves and snapping photos, what they were witnessing was actually one of the most disturbing events the city had ever seen. After his disastrous performance just 1 year prior, Roman continued to pursue a career in singing, taking every opportunity he could to share his music with the world, often joining Bianca on her YouTube channel, and singing on the streets for tips, where he actually made a decent amount of money, though because of his notorious television moment, he would often be harassed and even have the money he earned stolen from him. One day, while performing outside of a local soup kitchen, he was introduced to a woman named Darnika Krevich, a 67-year-old who relied on the soup kitchen for consistent meals. And after hearing Roman sing, she became a legitimate fan of his music, leading to the two striking up a friendship. And despite Darnika not having much, she offered to take Roman to a local coffee shop on February 6th, 2022.
Damn, I hate this, man. There's such a lot of good people being taken advantage of. It is crazy sad.
Where she treated him to a warm cup of tea on a cold winter day. And so the two sat inside a restaurant called the Cafe Pin, with everything seeming completely normal, until a server noticed that Roman started to look almost sickly, like he could barely keep himself upright, as his body was starting to slump over the table, his eyes barely open. The server rushed over to help, but Roman recoiled and shouted, "Just try calling the police on me." And so, not wanting to
Also, what happened to his wife?
escalate things, the server left, only returning later to drop off their check, which is when Roman's behavior took an even more drastic turn. He began feeling around his pants pocket for his wallet, before looking desperately around the table, but there was no sign of it. And so he grabbed Darnika's bag and rifled through it, before yelling, "You snake, you whore, where's my wallet?" Though when he still couldn't find it in Darnika's bag, his anger turned to violence, as he stood up and rushed Darnika, grabbing her by the head and shaking her, screaming in her face, accusing her of being a thief. This time, multiple people inside the cafe rushed over to hold him back, but Roman was too strong, too angry, and with seemingly no effort at all, he pushed everyone away, completely unfazed by their attempts. In that moment, no one could have stopped Roman. Darnika was entirely helpless, and so the crowd inside the cafe watched as Roman grabbed her by the neck and dragged her behind the bar, and then proceeded to kick, then stomp, and then jump directly on her, over and over again, each time landing on her head.
These are completely deranged people. God damn. Also, she's so kind too, like, they even offer food for him. Oh man, this is so heartbreaking. Oh man, I really feel something painful in my chest. God damn. Oh, this is so awful, man. Oh. Man, my chest really feels so painful right now.
It was a rage so demented that he actually began to smile, a wide manic grin, as he jumped and chanted, "Whore, witch, die." After what felt like an eternity, Roman stopped, before sprinting out of the restaurant, leaving Darnika entirely unrecognizable and dead on the floor. The same floor where, just feet away, Roman's wallet lay. having innocently fallen out of his pocket shortly before. Outside, Roman removed his blood-soaked clothes and walked completely naked into the city center, much to the amusement of the passerbys who had no idea what he had just done, until eventually he made his way into a nearby police station and blankly stated, "I am not well."
Wait, what did he say? I'm not Wim?
This sentiment was true in so many regards. Roman hadn't been well for quite a long time. Since a young age, it's believed he had dealt with undiagnosed schizophrenia that had led to uncontrollable anger issues, before developing an alcohol and substance abuse problem that only exacerbated his symptoms.
Interesting.
By the time he was an adult, Roman became so delusional that he believed he was a disciple sent from God to touch the world with his music, something that he eventually convinced Bianca of as well. So in their Super Talent episode, when Bianca mentioned their love for a living God that walked the earth, she was likely referencing Roman.
Osjetim, stvarno imam taj kontakt sa živim Bogom I mislim da je Bog svugdje oko nas, da je Bog osoba.
Also still kind of crazy, like, you know, even if you're schizophrenic, you still get some kind of wife, I guess, in this case. Like a lot of, like, Gen Z people, men in this case, like, we all suffer, like, never finding, you know, that one that we can love. Because, unfortunately, even in today's world, it's pretty hard for, like, men in today's world to even, like, find love. But it's crazy, you know, sometimes a schizophrenic, delusional person can still get, you know, find love. Maybe some people who are also fat and ugly can also find love. So, yeah, I'm still single today. I'm not, like, in a rush to find, like, any type of, you know, love in this case. To me, it's like, I'm just not in a good position to, I guess, have someone to love, I guess. For me, it's like, I'm just, like, focused on doing what I can, being passionate, and hopefully just help my parents, you know. I don't know what the future will hold for me, but it's pretty interesting to, you know, have that reality, I guess, to see, like, sometimes deranged people can still find love.
Roman was severely unwell, and no one in his life was keeping him in check. In fact, those closest with him were only feeding his delusions, with all of his issues coming to a head on the day of the incident. And when he realized his wallet was gone, Roman rushed to assume that Darnika was the one who robbed him, perhaps as a result of having his money stolen frequently on the streets. But the sad reality was, in a sea of people trying to exploit and mock Roman, Darnika was one of the few who actually truly cared about him and legitimately believed in his talents. And yet, he killed her in one of the most evil ways imaginable. All over a simple misunderstanding that was entirely his fault. In the end, Roman Bernardo was deemed unfit to stand trial and was never sentenced to serve any jail time, instead being given a 40-year sentence in a mental health facility, where he's since been described as a model patient, with his good behavior awarding him the opportunity to leave the facility for days at a time for therapeutic purposes.
Interesting. But yeah, it's so sad, man.
Nature is king here. Man can only watch and be humble.
There's nothing out there. It's your imagination.
Oh, man. That's so sad. Oh, man. I can't, like... Oh, man. The sting in my chest is still there, friends. It is sad. That's one of the sweetest women I ever heard. Like, I even tried to help him, you know. That's so sad, man. God bless her soul.
It was the start of yet another adventure for the crew of the television show Gardener's World.
I'm kind of, like, interested, like, why there's no more, like, titles between each video, because I thought, like, I even, like, see a title in each video, so I was kind of, like, confused by this.
This British program has been on the air since the 1960s.
Garden's
and provides
World.
viewers with tips on how to maintain their garden, while showing off a variety of unique plant life, which often brought them to remote areas of the globe.
I actually wanted to grow my own type of garden. I tried to grow, like, vegetables. I love carrots. I love potatoes. It would be pretty nice to just, like, cook them in my house, to just wash them off and, you know, provide myself to have some food. I also want to have, like, a mushroom farm. That would be pretty interesting.
This particular episode was filmed on February 5th, 2020, in the Drakensberg mountain range of Lesotho.
Also, not that type of mushroom that are hallucinogenic, you know. I just like a normal mushroom that I can eat, like button mushroom. And man, I would love to make, like, mushroom soup too. I love cooking. I would love to try cooking someday.
Africa, with the host, Nick Bailey, making the long journey to track down one specific flower.
One species which grows wild all over the country and has been a real favourite with British gardeners for generations is the gladiolus.
This delicate flower would have been familiar with many of the show's viewers, as it was quite popular in the UK. But in this region, there existed a unique species that had only been seen a handful of times in the last century, since it only grew in one particular valley in this one particular mountain range.
Damn.
Its scientific name is the Gladiolus microcarpus, and there were two people who knew it better than anyone else. Rod and Rachel Saunders were well-renowned botanists who studied the world of South African flowers in depth, with their favorite being the gladioli, as they would spend days and even months on end roaming areas just like this to learn everything they could about them, making them the perfect duo to help with the show.
Why gladioli? There's so many different plant species in South Africa.
I said, these type of videos always like start something normal, and you know, there's a couple in this case, then shit happens. Like, out of nowhere. Like, this slaps you in the face immediately without warning. This, whoa, what happened, you know?
I think they're beauty. Some of them are so exquisitely beautiful, you actually just want to sit down and cry when you see them.
But even with their vast knowledge of this region, there was always an element of danger when traversing it.
Yeah.
Its climate is often volatile.
Oh my god.
Conditions are...
It's always the weather, man. It's like, I've seen like next post video and Nick Crowley's video, we know that weather is like a motherfucker, okay? We always treat it lightly, and hopefully we will be careful from it.
Are known to turn on a dime, making safely navigating this area extremely difficult to downright impossible. This was apparent even on the day of filming, as a dense fog had rolled in, and given the steep and rocky landscape, one wrong step could spell disaster.
Yeah,
This didn't stop the crew from carrying onward though, as Rod and Rachel were relentless in their pursuit. They would do anything to find these flowers, and sure enough, the segment ended as they did exactly that.
We've come about 4 times looking for this plant, and this is the best I've ever seen it. It is looking absolutely gorgeous.
With that, Rod and Rachel's time on Gardener's World was over, but their journey through this area certainly wasn't. As the cameras cut, the crew made their way back to their makeshift base camp miles away, where they said their goodbyes, with Nick Bailey capturing a photo with a beloved couple and sharing it onto Twitter before parting ways, leaving the couple behind. As rather than returning to their home in Cape Town, this was actually just the start of what would be a multi-month expedition into this region, with the Ngoi Forest Reserve being their final destination. Along with being botanists, the couple were also avid seed collectors, and had started a business which shipped the seeds they had found to other plant lovers around the world.
Interesting. That's actually kind of sweet. Also, friends, there are actually like seeds that have been collected in Antarctica, just in case if, you know, there's a global extinction that might happen. They actually like try to preserve all the seeds in an underground bunker in Antarctica. That's actually crazy. The story of those seeds is also very heartbreaking, man. I would love to react on it someday, but usually those seeds will come from World War II, and in World War II there was like scientists that tried to really protect those type of seeds, man. They were so hungry. They were in the middle of the war where they were so hungry. They cannot eat everything, and all of those seeds are actually edible, but they try to really don't eat until they just die. They really just like don't eat. They just get hungry just to preserve all those seeds so that next humanity can preserve all those seeds and grow food. Crazy.
And while here, they made it their mission to find some of these ultra-rare gladioli seeds. And sure enough, on February 8th, 2020, Rod and Rachel sent a text to one of their employees at the seed mailing business, which contained a photo of the exact flower they were looking for.
Kinda look like an onion?
But despite this text seeming like a sign of more good things to come, the reality was far more bleak, as this text would ultimately be the last the couple would ever send.
What happened?
Out of nowhere, communication with Rod and Rachel had stopped entirely, and for days no one heard anything from the duo, prompting that same employee they had sent the image to report them as missing on the 10th of February. It was a devastating turn of events, but one that was always a possibility. Poor weather, a wrong turn, an injury, anything could have derailed the expedition.
Also, it's kind of interesting, like, I'm pretty sure this is in Africa, right? It's kind of look like almost Europeans of some sort.
As again, this area was notoriously dangerous, with it seeming all but certain that they had fallen victim to the unpredictable fury of Mother Nature, though this belief would quickly shift, thanks to the discovery of the couple's car. It was found by authorities abandoned by the edge of the Tugela River, and had been emptied of virtually everything inside. However, there was something left behind. As in the trunk, authorities would find a massive pool of blood that belonged to Rachel. Just days after filming, Rod and Rachel were making their way towards the Ngoi Forest Reserve, growing more and more excited by the discoveries they were making, oblivious to the fact that in the woods around them, they were being watched, hunted even, and not by an animal, but rather by a man.
What?
His name was Saifundin Aslam Delvicio, a local of the area that the couple was traversing, and on February 9th, he allegedly sent a text to his wife, Bibi Patel, telling her that he had found a good target, and that he was now in pursuit.
What?
With said target being Rod and Rachel.
Oh my god, that's just a fucking awful timing, bro. That's crazy.
Later that night, the couple made their camp and began to drift off in their tent, while Delvicio allegedly watched on, and once he was certain that they had fallen asleep, he made his move, approaching the tent, then tearing it open, and then standing above the couple. In the following moments, Rod and Rachel would be brutally bludgeoned to death before they could even react, as they lay helplessly, still inside their sleeping bags. Text messages indicate that Delvicio then enlisted the help of his wife Bibi, as well as his friend Musa Jackson, to help discard the bodies, using the couple's own car to transport them to the one place they were certain they would never be found: the Tugela River.
Oh man, that is so sad. Also, why?
As there was something about this stretch of water that they believed would make these bodies impossible to find. Crocodiles.
Crocodiles. Oh my god. That is so tragic, man. That is so sad. It's just a awful timing to even like found them to just killed. It's crazy.
And so they pulled up to the banks of the river as the crocodiles quietly watched on from a distance and dumped the bodies of Rod and Rachel into the water, where they were immediately devoured.
Damn.
They thought it was the perfect plan. However, it thankfully failed to work as well as they had hoped, as in the following weeks, fishermen would happen upon both of the corpses, or at least what remained of them, as they were in such bad shape that it would take nearly 2 full months for them to be identified.
Damn.
As for why this attack happened, we still don't fully know, as the trial is still ongoing, with Delvicio proclaiming his innocence, which is why everything is alleged at the moment, but the evidence is damning. Messages on Delvicio's phone paint a clear picture that he was responsible for this, with his motive appearing to be religious differences between him and the Saunders.
What? Kill the Kofar, the non-believer, and abduct their alias to destroy infrastructure and fear in the heart of the non-believers. I see. Seems like an extremist. Seems like a terrorist almost.
As well as money.
I always like wonder like all of the, I guess, terrorists, like other terrorists like in the world, they're kind of like culty even if you can't think of it. Like almost all of them are like have this weird, deranged, violent beliefs of sort. Like even in the America too, like the Waco siege, I think it was the Waco siege. There's like a very weird, awful like cult. They try to like taking advantage of women and, you know, underage children. It was so crazy. It was kind of like what happened there too. Like there was like a siege there. It's like it was also very awful. Like what the authorities were doing there. Like they kind of accidentally burned the entire facility, and unfortunately, you know, some of those women and children unfortunately died because of the smoke and toxic fumes from that fire. So sad, man.
As after the slayings, large sums of money were withdrawn from the couple's bank accounts, along with lavish purchases being made on their credit cards, with one of the receipts from the shopping spree being found inside of Bibi's purse. The evidence is almost impossible to deny, but while we wait for justice to be served, it's important to refocus on those who won't be here to see it happen. Rod and Rachel truly did nothing wrong. They were two incredibly wholesome people who were just trying to find and connect with the flower that they loved so dearly. And while their interview days before their death is an undeniably dark television moment, it also serves as an incredible tribute, as one of the last things they ever did in their lives was share their love and passion for gladioli with the world, the flower that they ultimately gave their lives to find.
It's also pretty lucky that they even find it during that video, I guess, during that TV, I guess, recording.
Trek to get here, and what an incredible treat to see such a special plant in such a niche environment. Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure. It's nice to be here.
Oh, damn it. God damn it. Well, guess that's the end of the video, friends. Yeah, it was pretty tragic, man. There were like 3 people, I guess, in this case. I kind of forgot like what happened in the first video. Wait, what actually happened to the first for the first part of the video? Oh yeah, it was the drowning stuff. But yeah, man. There's like a lot of good people in this video, and unfortunately, they've been unfortunately taken advantage of by this world. Kind of crazy, you know. No wonder a lot of people are kind of assholes. I guess being an asshole is like the way to defend yourself against people who are also, you know, asshole in a deeper level. I guess they kind of a little bit deranged in this case, but it's so sad, man. My chest still feels so painful. Damn. I was actually the brink of crying in the end because those two people, man, they're just so sweet. Yeah, what do you think, friends? Please subscribe to my video now, and you know, hopefully if you check my description below, you can see the original video by Nick Crowley, and hopefully while you're there, you know, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hopefully you can support my mental anguish, I guess, and sadness. Fortunately, I need a little bit of rest. Hopefully I can react to some different videos in the future. You know, hopefully I can just react to these type of videos a bit often, I guess, because I will try to get space out these and like other type of videos, I guess, in the world that's happening. You know, share my thoughts about this video. But yeah, this was just pretty tragic, and hopefully you enjoy watching this video, friends, and thank you for watching and good evening.